Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call the October Water, Sewer and Engineering meeting to order. I'll take attendance. We have Superintendent of Water and Sewer Matt Yetto, Receiver of Taxes Diane Pertzky, Supervisor Cassidy Dorian, Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli, and myself. And I'll take a motion to approve the September meeting minutes. Motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Yeah, second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and those are approved. And we'll start with a brief public comment period. Of course, as I've said previously, we follow the same code of conduct that we follow at our town board meetings. So we ask that residents keep their comments brief and respectful. And if I would like to begin, can begin.
I guess I'm not shy, so I'll kick it off. So Kevin Walsh, 2843 Whitmire Drive. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate all the work you do. As you know, I spoke at the town board meeting, this was a week ago, a little over a week ago, regarding the tractor trailer traffic on Whitmire Drive. Those things that I stated at that meeting were all facts, DOT violations, etc. And that's all in the communication that I provided to town clerk at that meeting. So I won't go over that again. Today's meeting, I provided a list of like mitigation items. It's a table I put together sometime. This document goes back to prior to Supervisor Syed. So this document's been sat down with Supervisor Syed, Supervisor Puccioni, this committee through Denise Murphy McGraw, through Mr. McPartland and yourself. Now I want to make sure, you know, it's been passed on and you know about. So it's a document that's been around a long time about our concerns on Whitmire and potential ways to mitigate those concerns. So I'm not going to go over that because it would consume the meeting. So if you could add it to the meeting minutes, I would appreciate that though. Okay, that would be good. All I want to mention today is that, you know, tractor trailers, you know, is a concern. We were told, the residents of Whitmire, that there would be no tractor trailers coming down our street. There would be straight frame trucks, like septic pumping trucks. So it's a surprise. When the town had to do the project for the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, which were important to do because of the flow and infiltration and discharges to the river, we all support that, you know. But the town also had to do make a seeker determination in order to go forward with that project. When it went to the Conservation Advisory Council for a recommendation to the town board so they could do seeker for that project, there was a negative declaration issue. But at no time when the Conservation Advisory Council was reviewing this information, was there any word of tractor trailers? So how can you give a neg deck when things have changed now, right? You can't change the ball game in the middle of the game. So that's what's going on. So I think, you know, this should be re-looked at, the tractor trailers from that standpoint. And also from the standpoint about hazards. When I was on the planning board, we would always send any changes to the fire chief so that the fire chief could review and know what's coming down. And I know that you're in emergency response, so you can understand this. You know, what's coming down, what's the hazards, if there are any hazards associated, what's the DOT placarding of the trucks, and so on and so forth. So at least the fire chief is aware of what's coming down. And I don't know if that's been done or not. All right, so I'd like to have that done if it hasn't been done. And also an engineering evaluation of the road to make sure that those trucks can safely navigate the road. And I'll leave it at that for today. I'm willing to help. And if you'd like to come over sometime and walk the street, Matt, with me, and I can point out some of the things that, you know, I've got pretty good history. I've been there 29 years. So I'd be glad to do that and walk the street and talk about it with you anytime. Okay.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I'd like to submit some information what Mr. Wolf is talking about. The road is around between 33 and 34 feet wide. That's a two-way road. That means that 17 feet come in. This is at the turn. The road is actually 20 feet wide. But at the turn, trucks and cars coming in have 17 feet to make the turn. A tractor trailer requires 20 feet to make the turn. So 10 feet of the truck is going into the opposite lane. And that's doing that on a turn is a hazard. It's dangerous. It's against the law. The town, by bringing in these, by contracting to have these trucks come in, these 18-wheelers, the town is changing the use of the road. It's just a country road, actually. It serves 10 properties. They want to change it into a industrial grade driveway into the wastewater treatment plant. When you change the use of the road, it's a public road. I think the Department of Transportation has something to say about the construction of the road. So I think you have to go to them, to those people, and ask for their opinion on the road as it stands. As it stands, I don't think it is up to snuff. So I'll hand you in some information on that I have.
Thank you.
Dan Sexton, Orland Drive. I had a couple of questions. I have basically one question, one concern. First question, I'd like to get some information about what's going on in the water treatment plant. I understand that there has been a gas leak that has prevented the recovery of the gas to be used for the energy consumption, energy uses of the plant. We've not been able to use that recovery system for some time. I haven't heard anything about that in any of these meetings. What I heard, I'll have to admit, is hearsay. I just wanted to check up on that and see what's going on there. If we could get a report, if that's indeed true, what's happening to get that fixed. I understand as well that the engineer who was supposed to be taking care of those repairs quit. And I don't know if there's a replacement on that at all.
The engineer that took a position elsewhere was not supposed to be working on the repairs solely for that system. I was at the plant this morning. We are making changes to some of the equipment down there. There are a few pinhole leaks in one of the gas piping sections, which we had a contractor who did the original repairs. We're going to have him come back and make the spot repairs on those leaks. I'm checking the some of the equipment out to make sure that it's working properly prior to putting that system back online. But the engineer who left had nothing, was not solely just doing that work.
Yeah. And is that preventing, in the current situation, is that preventing us from using that
Currently,
gas?
we are
You're buying it.
we're flaring the gas.
Flaring the gas.
But we are not at the peak gas usage anyway at this point. Peak gas usage is in the winter when we heat the sludge. So we are working towards putting that system back online, and the goal is within the next week or so to have that repair made.
Okay.
So we are still bringing in the product from Chobani, and this is part of our pilot with DEC. So this is proving that the digesters are operating properly with this additional feeding. So that's, to me, is the most important part right now.
Sure.
The gas will come online and we will benefit from that as well. We are also getting revenue by bringing in the waste from Chobani on top of that.
So in the normal summer months, if this was working properly, would you still be clearing the gas?
No, we could find usage for it, but I'm also looking at doing it correctly, and I want to make sure that it's safe. I don't want to put a system online with.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. Yeah. The other concern that I had was with the resolution that was passed at the last board meeting, Resolution 226, which authorized the billing of the water and sewer rents. The way that resolution was written is a little bit concerning because the information that was provided for the billing was actually the July 1st to December 31st billing and not the December through July billing. So you can actually see this. I brought resolution 94 with me as well. The numbers in the resolution 94, this table here, is identical to the numbers in the resolution that was passed. And in fact, the table at the top says that it is July 1st, 2023 to December 31, 2023. So you actually passed a resolution with the wrong data in it. I want to bring that to your attention.
I'll check on that because
Well, I can
Well, I'll check my own records.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, here's the resolution.
the official records are here.
Yeah.
The draft, you have the draft right there?
No, it doesn't say draft. It's, so this is the draft. Oops, this is the draft of 94 of resolution 94.
Thank you.
Linda Rizzo, 2229 Fair Lawn. I just want to piggyback on what Dan said, look, errors like that where you have the wrong data on for a resolution that you're passing. Again, it doesn't instill trust and confidence in what's going on. That's my own opinion. The other thing too, which may be a very minor point, but it's not to me, is that when this utility rate, and I want to talk about that one, came in to being and you all voted on it. Beth Greenwood said in the paper, and I'm looking for the article for a quote, and it's recorded, that one of the reasons was to force residents to conserve on water. Now, that doesn't mesh with why you're telling us you're doing this. I don't quite understand that because we are not a third world country. Secondly, people in Niskayuna are intelligent people. Most people have far more than a high school degree in this town. They aren't wasting water on a continual basis. So to give that as a reason, and it's documented in the paper, and I was looking for that article, that it was, yes, one of the reasons was to force people, they will not now conserve water with the higher rates. Does not mesh with what you claim is happening. And also the fact that we have wrong information on a resolution that, quote, all the board members passed, you didn't even notice it yourselves, is concerning. And that's my opinion. And my third concern is the water utility fees are coming out again. And in my district, District 17, people are now already complaining. And when you go on the websites, Ring, Watchdogs, or wherever you go, when you see people commenting that they have to take loans out now to live in Niskayuna, that's pretty sad. So my point is simply this: kicking it down the road for a year was unfair to the residents. And and the rates I predict will stay the same because we have some great budget people here, Joe, Dan, etc., that those fees will become budget dependent. The budget will become dependent on that. Fees never go down. They only go up. So I think this was just a masquerade that you guys were doing to lull us into some sense they'll take care of it in a year. That's all I'm saying, because when the next rates come up, boy, we're going to be out there with flyers again. Believe me, we're not going to tolerate it. And that's all I'm going to say on it.
I just want to say something. My name is Madeline Tiberio. I'm a resident. I grew up in Niskayuna, went to the high school and the middle school. And I also have an investment property in Niskayuna, so my taxes are probably about 8 to 9 to 10 times the amount of anyone else. So my concerns are financial. I'm a business person. I look at numbers. My frustration with the board is that I have seen and witnessed very intelligent people trying to speak and get interrupted by the 3-minute with the bell, and they have very important information that they are trying to get to the board. I see the board just staring, but clearly not absorbing. And the reason why I say that is I went to one meeting, I sat there, and I was listening to as much as I could listen to. And I pinpointed several people that I wanted to get in touch with. And I did. I'm a broker. I found out where they lived. I sent them letters. I reached out and I met with some, they shared their information. I felt that it was very, very important information and it was essentially being ignored. They go up and they speak month after month after month. So disrespectful. Then I hear on one finance meeting how the chief of police, his primary responsibility is to protect the people inside this building. I have no problem with that, but who's protecting us? I don't feel that the board has our best interest at heart. I think they are tone deaf to what is going on economically out there. The middle class is being disseminated. And then I hear from a board member, we're going to increase the taxes. That is not something that should be the answer to the problems. What I would like to see is I would like to see this town hall run a little bit more like a business, okay? I think non-essentials need to be cut. We are living in times that are different, okay? We are in a period of inflation and you cannot continue to do this to the residents. And then when I see that intelligent people are trying to get very important information through to the board and they are being ignored, it is extremely frustrating and disappointing. I've lived here for a real long time. And we used to buy trucks at auction for the highway. Now I see highway people driving nicer vehicles than mine. Okay? And I just look around and I see some abuse. And I see that we can have areas to cut back. And if we need to bring in someone with experience in efficiency that do not have ties and are not friendly and aren't afraid of the police. I, heard that one of the board members didn't want to vote against something because they didn't want to be, on the wrong side of the police. It's just craziness. And sometimes I wonder what world I'm living in. And so I just thought I would express that. I hope that Erin, that you will take that in good faith and understand what we are seeing. And I don't think anyone here has been part of the, problem of being disrespectful. But the board meeting that I went to, I saw a board member scream at a resident. And I just don't understand what's going on. So that's all I have to say.
I'm Joe Yanko, live on Roman Ave. So I wanted to touch on a few things. The first one is that I'm a trustee at the American Legion Post 1092 on Union Ave. Everybody here is familiar with it. It's the last American Legion Post in all of Schenectady County that still has a physical presence. We've been on Union Ave since 1945. About 2 weeks ago, Matt, you and Eric Amberger both received a lengthy letter from the post commander and the quartermaster. I'm very familiar with it because I helped draft that letter. The post commander and the quartermaster expressed a number of concerns about the rate increase and how that's affected the American Legion Post, and our water and sewer bill went from approximately $500 a year, now approximately $2,000 or more per year. We pointed out a number of things in that letter, in addition to the cost increase, that there seems to be missing descriptions in the town code with respect to homestead, non-homestead, benevolent institutions, churches. The American Legion Post was recategorized as a commercial property, and they're a minimum user. We typically use anywhere from about 4,000 to 8,000 gallons of water every 6 months. And for that, we were paying a $30 fee. We now pay a $932 minimum user fee for the same 5,000 gallons of water that we're using. And the post commander made a comment a couple of months back that for us to pay this bill now, it'll take us about 6 months of our Saturday morning breakfast, which we offer to the community veterans, and it's open to the public at a very low cost because we're trying to help feed people in the community that may, need a good meal and not pay so much for it. It'll take about 6 months for us to pay for a utility bill. It's really difficult for a small organization like ours to even keep our head afloat with everything else that's going on with the economy, utility bills going up, the cost of food products and everything. I don't have to go through that list, but you understand. So you can see that a 4 times increase in the cost of our utility bill is something that could well put the American Legion on such a fragile financial footing that it could be detrimental to them staying in operation. We haven't received even an acknowledgement that that letter, was looked at, read. It would have been nice to just get a thank you. We got your letter, we're looking into it, but it's been about 2 weeks. And I know the quartermaster sent an email follow-up last night, which he copied me on, basically stating that. So it's disheartening to me and to the Post, which have been good citizens and good members of the community, not to even get an acknowledgement of something that could be really catastrophic for us and other small businesses. We're very similar to some of the other small businesses in the town that don't have the pockets that this utility bill has created. So I wanted to say that on behalf of the American Legion, but that also goes out to other small businesses. At the last board meeting, I recommended that you not pass that resolution. I said if that resolution for the warrant for the utility rate came to the floor, not to second it. I never indicated that I didn't want you to collect utility bills. I recommended a rollback to the old rate design because everybody sitting in this room knows how catastrophic the April utility rate increase was. It didn't affect just one sewer district or one portion of the users in the town. It affected all 7,500 property users. Some in a lot more devastating way than others. And I looked at what was the warrant for last April was $3.1 million. The warrant for October is $3.2 million. It's actually a higher recovery of revenues in this new utility bill than it was in April. And you guys received hundreds and hundreds of complaints from all over the town. It wasn't just angry Republicans or Democrats. It's everybody because the utility bill affects everybody. It affects them in different ways, but everybody in the town received an enormous rate increase. You guys said that you thought it was going to be $63, but you knew the truth back then that it really wasn't after the community spoke up. And between April, when that bill came out, and September, when you guys just voted on yet the reestablishment of the same utility rate hike, you've heard it over and over and over again that you need to do something. And, I held out a lot of optimism that something actually was going to be done, material, that would do this. Even if you rolled back to the old rate design, yes, you wouldn't have recouped any of the gains that you saw in the new rate design, but you had a fixed income that the town would have received. It wouldn't have been zero. My real angst about what's going on here is I know that we're just at this crucial point where the annual budget's coming out again. I've looked really close at these annual budgets for many, many years, and the trajectory is only going in one direction, and it's gone up. And just in the past 3 years, the budget has gone up by about $5 million or more. You have to balance a budget. And I know that there was some public comments that, we're not going to cut services, but that's not the answer. You're hearing from the citizens in this town, the residents and business owners, that this is an unsustainable plan that you're following here. Just because you went to $32.7 million in a budget in 2024 does not mean it's got to be north of that in 2025. In fact, if I was any one of you, I would be establishing a 10% across the board reduction in all departments and drive down your budget. If you don't reduce the expenditures, you cannot reduce the revenue requirement, which means you can't reduce the bills that these people are paying. There's not magic to this. You pass resolutions, and I'm flabbergasted when I don't hear lively debate or even a commentary when you're talking about making a modification to a line item and doing interfund transfers that may be in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nobody's talking about why. Why are you doing that? What's the reasoning for it? How is it benefiting the town? What I hear sometimes is that we're doing these things because it's in the best interest of the town, but I'm here to tell you, every one of us in this room is the town. I'm the town. I'm a resident. The town is here because of me and everyone sitting at this table. It's not in my best interest to see my neighbors when they can't afford to pay their bills, when their houses may start to fall into disrepair and other things go lacking in their household because they're struggling and they have the distress of how they're going to handle a bill. So, I don't want to go on and on about it, but I think you guys have made a drastic mistake by approving this resolution again when you had easily 6 months to do something, including rolling back this rate design, and you didn't do it. And I expect that, Matt, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in the next 7 days, I'll be seeing my fall bill. Is that about right?
Yes.
And then I've got till November 11th to pay that. And I recall from the board meeting that there's about $500,000 that has been unpaid yet since the April bill. That's what I saw in the documentation, $465,000. If you don't think that there's going to be people that still can't pay this October bill that haven't paid the April bill or another, you could be facing $1 million in monies that haven't come in. And why? Because people can't pay the bill. If that isn't the red flag to you at this point, to know that you've never seen a history like this with these complaints and this many people that are struggling to pay the bill, I don't know what else you need to see. I've talked to you at every single board meeting. I try to be respectful to you. I can't get inside of your head to figure out why you're making some of the decisions that you're making, but I can see in black and white before me and the people around me that everybody is feeling this pain to one degree or another. And you can't sit idly by and not correct the problem. It is a problem. It's not people with leaky pipes. It's not miscommunication or confusion. Look at the bottom line. The bottom line is a massive rate increase for all these residents and businesses, and that needs to be fixed.
The only thing I wanted to say to piggyback on what Joe just said, people aren't going to be able to pay that November 11th when it's due. You're going to have to extend that bill. They can't afford it. And it's not that people don't understand or that they have leaky pipes. You are dealing with a highly educated community. We understand. It's not like we can't understand why you raise the rates. We can figure out, we can see the flaws in it. And yes, it is a disappointment that the warrants were issued, that you went on and kicked it down the road, because I know personally, one board member was asked to put a resolution on to roll back the rates, and we were ignored. And not just sitting here. Look at Ring, the number of people on there. You're talking about 250 people on the internet that have a lot of family, and they're not happy.
Well, could we perhaps pivot to another thing that, sorry, this is really interesting for me to hear all this, but we're also dealing with another water issue, which is the drainage on Van Antwerp Road. My name is Denise Pritchard, 1671 Van Antwerp Road. It's my mother, Helga Pritchard, and my neighbor, Lori.
1675.
Yeah. So we've come pretty much, for the past 6 months to this meeting. Our main concern is, the storm water is kind of flowing all into this area. We've talked about this is the culvert in question, which is right down the road here. You can't even tell it's a culvert because it's completely overgrown. And I've asked several times for the status of the maintenance on this culvert from the highway department. I've received no information. I've emailed them directly. I've been in this meeting. So we really want to understand why this has never been maintained, because there are no records of its maintenance. And because this, from an independent engineering study that we've done, is the culprit to the flooding. It's positioned in a place where it requires that whole area to flood at least a foot before it becomes active. And all we're asking is that this is maintained and all this vegetation is cleared, which is actually on town property. So it's not like any special permissions are needed, but this is an easily mitigated problem from our perspective. And we really ask you to take some action.
I do have an update for you.
Okay, great.
I spoke to the highway superintendent and he is committed to excavating and digging that out in the near future. They'll be doing that work.
Okay.
Some of what started up there.
No, that was it. That was, I think that's, our water server. And I also spoke to the Schenectady County too. I understand you contacted them in the past as well, dating back to 2006.
Yeah, but it actually goes back to
So I spoke to them there. They said they're limited in what they can do, but we can work on that culvert. We'll, I spoke to Ray Smith. He's going to have his crew come in with an excavator, dig out as far as he can reach and as far as he can legally dig out within the town, area.
Okay.
And I've also had conversations with the property manager of Knott's Landing.
Okay, great.
They are going to be submitting a plan to my office where they're going to modify the berm that exists on the downstream side of one of their parking lots, where in going through and evaluating what's going on, the drainage from that parking lot is bypassing one of the detention basins.
Got it.
So by making those changes,
Yeah.
they've committed to making those changes that will put some of that water through the stormwater detention basin, which is designed to slow the
Right, slow the
flow.
flow. Yeah,
So that's one thing that I identified, and
Okay.
they're gonna fix that as well.
thank you.
And Ray is going to be working with his crew to clean up that culvert.
Okay, great. Do you have a timetable for that?
I spoke to him as recently as today, and he said that they're gonna be planning that work very soon.
Okay.
It will be this season.
Did you had a question about the neighbor and any expert, speak for you. I thought you had an additional question about the neighbor down in the corner there.
Behind the
Is it-
library, the farmhouse on the corner there, was there an artificial sand being put in there, and did that stop the flow as well? Will they be able to address that when they're doing this excavation?
Highway is gonna be working at that culvert. We can't work on private property. So they'll do what they can within their area.
Just explain. It seemed to get worse.
Yeah, and speaking of the county too, they just think it's also a natural progression of the wetland. But anything we can do to help mitigate it by clearing out that culvert to help some of the flow.
Yeah.
That should help.
I'll speak for us, that you could have access to our property, no problem. I mean,
I think the access, the issue is doing work on private property and using, basically get the public funds to do that work.
okay.
And
Yeah.
that's where we get into trouble. That's what the county is also saying. I think I think that was their take on it as well.
Offer access and reading and be, and do that, we're open to that. And I think our property in particular backs right up to town property. The other ones maybe are up a little bit, but ours backs right.
She just means access to get back.
Yeah, access or as part of the swale, I think it needs to be, connected to the culvert.
I think the most we can do at this point would be the culvert here on that street,
Through the town property up to, that's what you're referring to.
just around the entrance as far as you can reach from the road with the excavator.
Because I think it needs to go all through the town property and to meet up with that swale, the water that comes down from those properties and then connects to the culvert. There has to be, it's just like jammed with vegetation, just a little bit of a, excavation. I don't think it's gonna solve the problem. I think you need a channel.
We can do the best that we can do and see how much
Yeah, I mean,
that.
that's all your property, town's property.
I know, but they need to.
Okay, well, we appreciate you doing the best you can do within your parameters.
See how it helps and we'll provide some improvement for you guys. I know you have that pretty extensive walking path and guards back there.
Thank you.
So, I did a little, a graph of the appropriate fund balances in, sewer District 6. Like this, and the appropriate fund balances from 2007 to 2017, they went up. And then after that, it's gone down. So I know that in 2016, you had to, upgrade the wastewater treatment plant, and of course, you had to float a bond for that. And now I think what you're doing is, what you were doing after that was, you were saying that, you would bring in, waste material would come in, you charge a fee for it, and, you process it or whatever. And, that fee would help to, reduce the interest and principal on the bond. I think the bond is 22 million or 18 million. There's different numbers out there. But anyway, it's a lot of money. So what you did was, you said that you would get a certain amount of money, revenue from these fees, and, you got nothing. You would then take the money from the appropriated fund balance and use that to supplement the budget. And you did that for 4 years, from 2018, the 2018 budget to the 2022 budget. In the 2020 budget, you used the appropriate fund balance. In the 2022 budget, you used capital funds. Is that right? I have page, I think it's page 36 of page 36 of Sewer District 6 fund, the 2023 adopted budget reviews. So you can find this, it says transferred from capital fund, and it's about $1.7 million. So I'll hand that in. So I was just wondering what is going on, because I, as a citizen of this town, I mean, I have to pay the water and sewer bills. I have to pay it, or you put a lien on my house and eventually it gets paid. But as an investor in municipal bonds, I'm looking at this, I'm scratching my head. I'm saying, what are they doing? I don't understand it. Why you would say you were getting a revenue when you knew that you weren't going to get that revenue, and then you took the appropriate fund balance money and supplemented the budget, supplemented the shortfall. I don't understand that. I don't understand why capital funds are for, big projects. They shouldn't be used to run an operating budget. That's as an investor, I would never invest in this kind of bonds because of these confusing things that you're doing. And I saw in 2004, no, in 2008, no, in 2009, this article came out, and it talked about the controller DiNapoli talking to the supervisor Joe Landry about about moving about $500,000 from, I guess it was an operating fund, to supplement your regular daily or yearly funding for the town. So, I mean, it seems to me that you're doing the same thing that you were told not to do years ago.
I'd have to check with the records because it was our comptroller who made those.
Well, I'll give you the information. I'll give you all the
Bond money
information.
into the capital fund and then
She moved it all in capital.
pull over from the capital fund.
Huh?
The capital funds that you see pulled over,
Yeah.
when we get bond money for projects, they get put in a capital fund until they need to be moved over and used.
Yeah, but they were used to balance the budget.
They may have been, I just wanted to explain.
Well,
It's supposed to be used to balance the budget. Yeah, you're
I
right.
think there's just a lot of irregularities. I think there's revenue that's projected in your budgets and you continue to fall short.
But you
And
passed
it's
it
year
down.
after
We
year
were
after
actually
year.
talking about this.
And so it's, we're looking at, Muscuna and we see how many people with PhDs are living here and the budget is just so inadequate and it's just like, doesn't make any sense. And, it's concerning. It's concerning. And it's like, we're not here to, speak ill of anyone. We're just seeing things that are alarming. And then we're being looked at as the solution to Jackson.
Raise your taxes. So as a person who's not as well researched and educated as you guys are about this, I'm just learning a lot today.
Yeah.
So you sounds like you're running a budget where you're just spending money that you don't even have.
Exactly.
Or, I mean,
You
expect
just
us
said it.
to be taxed even more than we are. Yeah. I mean, I already had to seek a reduction once, you know, I'm not a rich person, you know, but my taxes keep going up more than 2% every year.
The November 2020 and November 2021, the auditor's report came out. It was done in March of 2021, and the town was notified by the state controller's office that you were budgeting money that you did not have. You were budgeting it, looking like estimations, and you were ordered to stop doing it. This was in March of 2021. And nothing seems to have changed since then. And I did speak to the auditor that did the audit in Niskayuna about that issue. You are still doing it, okay? And you're raising taxes to, instead of cleaning it up, as Joe said, cut 10% from each of the departments. And I liked what Natalie said. You guys, you employees, the police and all, are driving better cars than I am. I mean, I kept my car for 10 years. They're getting new cars every time you turn around. I'm paying their salaries and I'm driving a 10-year-old car and had to wait to buy a new one. And they're driving these new big cars around. It is ridiculous. That's all.
Well,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I mentioned at the last couple of board meetings, that the issue that, occurred with Sewer District One in the loss of about $460,000 of revenue. You know, I'd like to understand how we're gonna make that up, how we're gonna correct for that. I hate to see the costs go to the residents in Sewer District One, but that's where it belongs. I asked, board member, McPartland about that after in the break in the board meeting. The answer I got was that, okay, yeah, we understand. And there's some people who are no longer, all he said was there's some people who are no longer here because of that, but no resolution associated with that. So that didn't do me any good. But I think, you know, the town can't afford to lose that kind of revenue. And we can't afford to be making poor decisions as far as spending is concerned. We got to be asking questions.
I think one of the problems is that you have to wait 2 years between the time a budget is voted on and you find out how it worked out. For instance, we don't have the numbers on the 2023. It's almost 2025, and we don't have the numbers on what was voted on in actually November of 2022, which is the 2023 budget.
I can provide you with the expenses for the actuals for 2023 if you need them.
Should be.
How did you get them?
We did a foil. We did a foil.
Oh, you did a FOIL? You have to FOIL?
Yes, you do. They don't give it to you.
Well, you never see the actuals unless you foil. You see the budgets, but you don't see the actuals.
Record? You have to FOIL for that?
Finances, you should not have to FOIL by the Office of Freedom of Information, but you have to FOIL it in this town. I checked that out.
I appreciate everyone that has shared their thoughts and ideas with us. I've taken notes, and I think we all have, on everything that was shared. A lot of these topics that everyone is bringing up are discussions we've already had as we're preparing next year's budget. Our budget workshops begin next week. And so these are all conversations that we've been having and are to be continued at our budget workshops. But again, I appreciate everyone who has shared their thoughts. Let's move into our regular agenda.
Can I just, Aaron, I had called you to ask for a meeting. Did you get a message yet?
We didn't, but also our receptionist is out this entire week, and because I was the secretary, I now don't have a secretary. So we're working on that, but I apologize. Do you?
I'll give you my phone. I can set this up. Yes, sure.
It was for Dan and I.
I'm sorry, Jason. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move into attorney's items. Our town attorney is not here. Do you have any information on, these agreements?
But we're still trying to get the owner of 1905 Union Street to fund, so they have to work to do the agreement for the fence is, so if we can get that information prior to the meeting, we'll move forward on that. The next one, the owner of 248 Mohawk Trails, he has come in with his application for a building permit for the shed, so we can now move forward with that easement agreement. I can forward that information to Elena. You had to wait for him to do the permit prior to, he was trying to do the agreement ahead of the permits. Engineering, we're finishing up on our lead service inventory. Our deadline is October 15th to submit information to Department of Health. We've got a good sample of many of the homes in town, and also we've scoured our records as well to see which properties have lead, which ones have copper and other materials for the services. Well, it's not, even though the deadline is just 15th, we'll be an ongoing process. As we get more information, we'll keep updating it to them. So people shouldn't stop submitting their cards if they have them, and if they haven't finished with the survey. So, and I just want to thank everyone who's taken part in that. It's helpful for us to get an understanding of how the town was built, as with which materials we use in certain homes. We found more copper than we expected. We thought we found more lead, which is a good thing. But there is still time, and there are certain homes that we have found that do have lead and galvanized pipe. So hopefully we can move forward and finalize the list and get it into the state and just continually add to it and get better information every time we do a building permit or a plumbing permit for a service repair. We're grabbing that information as well, and it's giving us a chance to do some work on our meters as well. If we get into a house, we can replace the meter head on the meter, because there's only so many years the batteries are good for. So it's a good opportunity to get in and change that while we're there as well. It was mentioned earlier, we did lose our senior engineer, Dan Volge. He went Bethlehem. They poached him for a position in their engineering office. Happy for Dan, happy for the town. Dan was a great asset to have working with us. So we're currently looking for someone with a engineering degree and preferably some experience as well to fill the senior engineer position. So as of right now, I'm going to be doing both that role and my job. So hopefully we find somebody to fill that sooner than later. So I'm getting some hands-on experience down at the sewer plant again. So I am actively working on that gas system. They've been whole leaks, but still I want to have them fixed. I get to see it for the guys down there. Water and sewer maintenance. We are still 3 individuals down in a water and sewer maintenance crew. Trying to find people to fill the positions it's very hard. We're asking people to work long hours through the night, and we're paying them. They get paid at McDonald's, unfortunately, to start. So we're keeping an eye out there, and anyone who's interested in doing good work and working hard and having a chance to help the public, and there's a lot of opportunity for it as well. So we'll keep advertising, and we'll do some interviews and have some names at the point, because we are getting into the busier season over the winter. A lot of maintenance, repairs and issues surface in the winter.
Is that just a high school diploma? What do you need?
High school. And then we provide training for them to get their own CDL within 10 months at no cost. And that's a good way to better yourself as well. Let's see what else. Not street pavement repair. I waited for over a month for a quote from a contractor, which I did finally get a quote, but they did not adhere to our bidding, process. So I have a quote coming in from another contractor who is on our bidding list, and he's going to utilize the bidding that we did already. But it will not be cheap. The county is requiring us to pave and mill a good portion of that intersection. That was related to the water break that we had over the winter.
Did they give us anything for that,
Did they
county?
give us anything?
No, do they help us at all with that repair?
Um,
No.
we can piggyback on their contract. So
About it.
that's about it. Water main that had been there prior to the
I remember.
the project, and our water main used to be in the shoulder, and they widened the road and put it underneath the driving lane. So when we had a break, it became a bigger issue. But it's unfortunate, but a lot of times the infrastructure is not included in these projects. So we wish they would do that, but it adds costs to the project. Utility billing. As mentioned earlier, the bills are going out in the next few days, and it'll be due on the 11th. The 11th is yeah, bills will say the 11th because of the holiday. We will accept bills until the 20, until the 12th for the payments. Hexham, 1929 Hexham Road. We were contacted by the resident who had concerns because they had a rather large bill, but they thought that they might have a leak. So we went over to try to help them find the leak, and we found that they had it's a 1,500 gallons a day that were leaking underneath the crawl space in their under their kitchen. So and they, just to show you the technology that we do have, that's the daily usage. That's after they made the repair. We were able to get this off of the meter by downloading it off of the meter. But because our technician was there, he witnessed the nature of the leak. It was going into the ground, not into the sewer. They're asking for some type of adjustment off of their sewer bill because the leak was not causing water into the sewer, but it was just using water. So there's definitely, I mean, unfortunately, the water did go through the meter, but they should be charged for the water, for the water that did go through the meter. But consideration was asked whether or not we could take the current usage and make get the difference between what they're currently using to what they were using at the peak, and
Just sewer.
just adjust the sewer, and
It should be a decent chunk of money.
Yeah, do you know what the amount is? Or?
I'd have to do the math, but it's their bill for the first half of the year was 1,756. That's for both. Their sewer portion was $784. And they didn't pay it, so then, but after they did make the repair, they did reduce the usage quite a bit. So I can have that number prior to the meeting.
And when was the repair made?
June.
So that's what-
If it had been going into the sewer, there would have been no chance to do any adjustment. Because it would have been,
But our crew that was there saw it going into the
Yes.
scrap, right? So
John Jackson was there. And they still have a small leak as well that he made them aware of. So they're working on that as well, but that wouldn't be, it's an active leak, so they still have to deal with that on their own, unfortunately. So I think it's a 5-gallon a day leak.
Better than 1,700 or whatever you're saying.
Wastewater treatment plant, an update on the organic waste program, we are receiving, 2 trucks a day from Chobani of Way. As part of our pilot that we're working with DEC, New York State DEC on. Our digesters are responding very well to the additional feed. And we're not having any issues with upset or operations. And, it's a 12-week, period that we are doing the pilot for, and I think we're about 3/4 of the way through it. At completion of that, we will submit all the data to DEC. Our data looks good on our end. We'll share it with them and have them do the review, and based on that, they'll give us further guidance on how we move forward as well. And I'd like to examine other waste streams as well, so that we have more variety. We still are taking in various deliveries of fats, oil, and greases from septic haulers as well. Which we are,
That same company, is it, that one you're telling me, Chobani?
no, it's that we have individual contracts with local haulers. So they're bringing in, like, one does all the, like, press choppers, grease straps,
Gotcha.
and bring that in. So it's local. And the Chobani comes in 2 trucks a day, like right now, and the plant is capable to handle that. Need a resolution to purchase materials for the upkeep of the UV disinfection system. It's an expensive piece of equipment, so the maintenance on it is rather expensive. But it's crucial. It's the disinfection, the last step in the treatment practice. The parts that we would need for this year's maintenance would be just over 32,000, which we budgeted for. And that is a sole source provider. So we have a sole source audit for that as well. The sludge pumps that we use at the plant, they require their maintenance as well. Parts to do that work, I believe the cost was, I had it looking here, I think it was $22,000 for that. That's another sole source. That's not an annual, it's more than our annual work. We're doing some additional purchasing of equipment so that we can have one on hand, so we can always rotate out and do a rebuild on the parts. These pumps run 24 hours a day. Waste at the water treatment plant, well number 4, the pump in well number 4 is no longer working. We need to pull that well pump out and replace that pump. I've gotten 2 quotes for the work, and the lowest quote is just over $12,000 for that, which we have money that we can access from the work for that. Well, transfer station, the landfill, the annual post closure monitoring. We had a 3-year contract with Sterling Environmental, which now we're past the 3rd year now, so we need to request proposals for additional years going forward. So I have an RFP out to 5 different engineering firms to get their pricing on that.
When is that due? Sorry.
I think it's due next Tuesday.
And that overlaps with the other one?
No,
End of
the
the year.
proposals are due. Yeah, well, we have to do it before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we typically do it in December. So I just wanted to get that contract in place, and then they come in, they draw the samples and they send it to the lab. But we do budget for that every year. I do have some pricing already from one company, slightly higher than last year, but not out of sight. And then the annual paper shredding and electronics recycling event is scheduled for October 26th from 9 to 12 here at Town Hall. It brought to my attention that it's the same day as the drug take back, which we've done in the past. We just set them up in different sections of the parking lot. People drop the drugs off and then they go and get rid of their electronics all at once.
Yeah. He said something about being around the corner too, so it's gonna be, yeah, I think that's what they're
In the
saying.
past, there was more checking and you had to keep track of how much, as far as the TVs and things we charge for it. Now, because it's free,
We don't have to.
we don't have that extra step, so they have access.
We have a splitter that works this way, running and split.
It's a little easier.
Quite
There's a-
quickly.
There's a third thing I think.
I'm pretty sure it's the first day of early voting, so I feel like maybe we should section off some parking spots, for just the voters. Is what I'm thinking.
But yeah, and there's no cost to the town for the recycling, because New York State has passed a law that these manufacturers are responsible for the cost of recycling. Which I don't know how they get it. Some of these companies, some of the TVs that come in are Zenith TVs from the 1950s. I mean, good luck getting it, but it doesn't cost us anything. The company that picks up the electronics from the town, they don't charge us, and it's on them to try to recoup the cost. So it's,
It's almost $2,000 an ounce. They get it out of there.
but of course, yeah. So, in fact, it's TVs any longer. It's most electronics, only things like thermostats and smoke alarms. They're not accepted for the hazardous nature. Other than that, and then you get rid of your electronics, and then the shredding.
And your medicine and mobile.
Yeah. Yep. So, I just found out that's the same day as the PSAP, so my son won't be here to be volunteering, so,
Other slave waiver
yeah, it's all
over
volunteer.
the younger one.
That's all I have.
I was just gonna throw this on because it'll show up in the budget, so I wanted, and I think that's part of the reason that that Michelle is here as well. I told this after the last meeting, but just so you have an idea. The transfer station is in the budget to be closed in March, in just the tentative budget. And just to give you an idea about, what it's costing us in our taxes to provide this service. I had Michelle pull up, sort of how many people are using it. And to date this year, we've got about 199 households, and that's out of the 8,000 and something. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these households are senior residences. And so I've been trying to find a way for us to negotiate some kind of lower rate with private companies to see if we can't provide some kind of bridge to having their garbage picked up there. We've just seen a really big reduction in use and a real increase in how much it costs for people to come and actually take the
Yeah, the haulage
waste
costs
away.
have gone, and then waste disposal costs have gone up every year.
So it's in there. So I wanted to bring it up here just so that everyone was in the know and it wasn't just sort of hidden in there. It's, Michelle was telling me it's a March to March, so it would close this coming March. So just
I think that was a conversation we started having.
a long time
Solar
ago.
permits.
Yes.
This year.
Yes.
That.
So, that's
Mary,
it.
did you
That's
ever
all I
think
have.
about, or the town, I mentioned this to Jason almost 3 years ago. We all pay high fees to have trash companies come,
Yes.
of contracting with a company.
We have actually thrown that idea around. There's other municipalities that do it, but typically it's because they've always offered it as a part of a free even though they're paying for your taxes, as a free service. And they used to offer it in-house and then they kind of transitioned into private
But
companies.
most of them now are using
They're using
they're not using,
private.
they're not doing in-house. They're a lot of the suburban areas, they're contracting with a private company to pick up everybody's waste.
Yeah.
And because they're doing it for a whole town, the amount that is being spent is a lot less than what individual people are doing to contract. You know, I'm paying X amount every 3 months, $100. If you contract it out, you could get a much better rate for the whole town rather than us doing our own disposal.
Yeah.
I suggested that to Jason to investigate it 3 years ago.
And there's bigger things too, because now we got, on my street, there's 3 different haulers. So you get 6 trucks just coming down.
That's right.
So if you have one hauler, it's all the carbon dioxide, all the greenhouse gases you talk about. So there'd be lots of environmental benefits if there was one hauler. It would be great.
So there's a lot of moving parts to that because right now it's like a service. We don't wrap the price of trash into our, so we wouldn't be offering it to everybody. And so how could we anticipate how many people would buy in? So
You could take it's easy to do, Aaron. You do a survey on your page, Niskuna page, how many are interested. Then you base it on what people are responding.
Well, and even more than that, we've been just trying to figure out how other municipalities have done it in the past to try to figure out how to get started with it. And then we also have to be mindful if we're, that's would have to be an RFP process because of the garbage wars that are happening here. But I agree with you. I have sticker shock every time I get that bill. It's ridiculous how much money people pay for garbage.
It wouldn't be included in your budget. You wouldn't add that fee in. It would be something that you would pay outside of the budget if you wanted to have it done. I would assume the majority of the town would rather say sure. Rather than paying a
competitive price.
That's
That's right.
what's
So
gonna
I
draw
think that's
people.
why we need bigger numbers in order to say we can guarantee 1,000 residences or whatever. That's where we want to try to do what's been done in the past and has been successful.
Just do a survey. You send out surveys all the
The
time.
surveys-
You send a survey out on the logo. So send a survey out on this
but
to see how many
Committee
people.
was very good at getting
Yeah.
people to respond to, and I don't know how they did that, because we did comprehensive plan, and I think we only had about just under 200 responses. So it's really getting the survey out to people. Not a bad idea. How do we
But I
best
think
get it
more
out there?
people would be interested in this than they were in the logo. It's the topic that people are
Well, the
responding.
logo had like 600. Did you see how many people responded? Was it like 600? Yeah. I couldn't believe how many people they got to respond.
Just a suggestion.
Survey that.
Oh, it did. So it wasn't just kind of like. We did. I'm like, we should have wanted to help us with the comprehensive plan. Talk about this,
Because the transfer station.
So, one thing I didn't think about for this is we should probably ask Ray what the costs are to kind of clean that area up when and if it closes. I don't think that's going to apply. Or reduce, okay, so that's something that was already worked out.
Or. People's with Connor.
Oh.
It hasn't been.
But I think it got moved, so you're talking about the 2023 monies that came in? Yeah, I think it got put to fund balance when they decided not to do the work. That's what I think happened, but yeah, so I'll find out, but I'm also curious how much it's gonna cost to take it down. It's not like a big setup, but it's like, you don't wanna leave it like that, cause it's sort of eyesore-ish, Thank you for pulling it. Like, get a couple of sledgehammers and.
Okay, next meeting is gonna be on Thursday, 7, right here in the Shape Room, 4:30 in the afternoon. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Happy Rosh Hashanah, Jason.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Would you? Call you in the set.
Give me a couple of times and just, I know Linda wants.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
See you then. Go away.
To drive by.
Yeah, well.